This lesson covers actually configuring Radius. Now by default, the server is already running as a Radius server, but you actually have to go and add the clients that you want to allow to use this server. And you also define a shared key. Also, I could configure this box to act as a Radius proxy, which means I would add in a group of other Radius servers that this server would then send the request to, and therefore acting as a Radius proxy. Additionally, you're going to want to create network policies to actually enable and approve certain conditions. For example, I'll go back to my VPN server that we used previously. To configure the use of a Radius server, we actually use the Remote Access Management console rather than the Routing and Remote Access console. So in step 2, we can configure the Remote Access server. So I'm going to click Edit. I'm then going to select VPN Configuration, and under Authentication, instead of using Windows Authentication, we're going to tell it to use Radius Authentication. We double click, and then we type in the name of that Radius server. We also need to configure a shared secret key. So this is basically a password that you're going to tell it to use. And I click OK. So I've now configured Radius Authentication, and I can click Finish. I click Finish again to apply the changes. It's telling me the changes to the configuration, and I'm going to click Apply. So you can see it's adding the external Radius server to the configuration, and that completed successfully. On my Radius server itself, I now need to add in this server. So under here, I go to Radius Clients. I'm going to say New, enable this. I give it a friendly name, so I can just call it the name of that server. And then again, either the IP address or DNS name. I can say verify resolve, which is correct. And then I'm going to type in that password again. Now I can configure templates to actually manage this shared secret, but for now I'm doing it manually. Under Advanced, I can also say, well, what is the vendor name who's using this? So for example, Microsoft, it could be a third-party wireless router. These are all available, and you can give details of the type of Radius client that's going to be using this. You can say, is it NAP capable? So this actually is NAP capable, so I'll say yes to this. So that is now configured here. Also remember, I would have to make a change to my user. Remember, I was lazy before. I would now tell the dial-in to actually control it through an NPS network policy instead. And that actually completes the configuration of actually leveraging a Radius server. You still need to add network policies to approve the connections, but for the actual communication between the client and the server, that is now established. If this was going to be a proxy, you would actually go in here and add a group name and the Radius servers that are actually going to be part of performing that final authentication, and then we would select to act as a proxy as part of our network policies. This completes the lesson on configuring Radius.